Fighting games are awesome. Fighting games unify competitors from every walk of life, from every corner of the globe. From 15-year-old phenomenons destroying opponents who have been practicing literally longer than they've been alive, to middle-aged gods who have been dominant for decades. Champions arise from Pakistan, Korea, Japan, North America, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, and Africa, and everywhere in between. Fighting games bridge cultures, ethnicities, age, stage of life in ways that most video games can't. Anyone can join the fighting game community and start to make a name for themselves, from the largest stage in the world to the smallest nearby local tournament in your town. Fighting games are awesome, but should you devote your adult life to them? That's the question I'm going to answer in this video essay. I was in my 30s when I played my first Street Fighter game, Street Fighter 6. I had no idea what a Dragon Punch was until I was like 33. But man, was I into it! Street Fighter 6 came out in June 2023, and my best friend and I had already bought tickets to EVO that year, the premier and most popular fighting game tournament in the world. Full stop. I marked on my calendar that I had 8 weeks to practice before the big tournament, and boy did I practice. My wife and I just had our second kid, and even though I had a full-time job, 2 young kids now, and not a lot of free time or even energy at all to spend gaming, I spent every spare minute I had practicing Street Fighter 6. My main goal was to not go 0-2 at the tournament. I just wanted to win one game. Of course, I knew I wasn't gonna go far in the tournament or anything, but getting a win or two would have been awesome. So I trained. I played online all the time. I took copious notes. I spent many spirited hours in practice mode looking up specific frame traps and memorizing matchup knowledge, the whole deal. I was actually trying to be good. 8 weeks later, our plane lands in Vegas and we get our badges to EVO. I sit down with my designated battles and promptly lose both matches. I don't even think it was that close. Damn it. It didn't matter though, I had an awesome time. Look, I take fighting games very seriously. I love fighting games. Years ago, I was literally trying to become an actual professional Smash Ultimate player. I was hiring professional coaches, I went to more than 50 tournaments, spending every waking minute thinking about how I needed to improve my game. My best friend, a lifelong fighting game fanatic, was delighted when I got absolutely hooked on Tekken 7, putting in hundreds of hours and marking the exact day on my calendar when Tekken 8 was going to release. Again, I love fighting games. I've put serious time into fighting games. But now that I'm in my mid-30s with a family, young kids, bills to pay, a big boy career, and precious little free time, and knowing just a tiny bit what it takes, what it requires to actually win at fighting games, I've asked myself, should you devote your adult life to fighting games? The other day, one of my favorite fighting game content streamers, Diaphone, put out a video called "Competitors Have Gotten Way Too Good at Street Fighter 6." In it, he analyzes several matchups from Capcom Cup, featuring the best Street Fighter players in the world, and some of their most insane 1 in a billion level reads and reactions these players were doing live on the biggest stage. For instance, check out this clip of a Zangief player's superhuman 19 frame reaction time to a hyper-specific, extremely high-risk scenario that they pulled off with ease, winning them the match. I say this, and there's plenty more examples of these things, because if you want to become truly great at fighting games, maybe even the best in the world, you have to not only know all these things yourself, all these insanely specific, contextual, one-off situations, but also know how to beat anyone else that can also do them too. And don't forget, many of these specific situations and the frame data involved is constantly changing due to patch updates by the developers, meaning you have to constantly adjust to these changing situations every few months when a new patch comes out. Fighting game tournament prize pools are notoriously top-heavy and kind of small, meaning the cash prize for first place is usually exponentially higher than like 5th place, which is exponentially higher than 9th place. And usually not being in the top 8 or even top 6 usually means you get absolutely no prize winnings at all. I recently saw a video on the popular fighting game channel Versus Vortex aptly titled "It's Not Worth It to Be a Pro," featuring an interview with an actual professional fighting game player, Kun Ho from Singapore, who recently got 9th place at a Capcom event for Street Fighter 6. In the interview, Ho reveals some difficult truths about his profession. Quote, "It's not as rewarding in this generation of fighting games compared to being a streamer or a content creator," Ho explains. Being a content creator or a streamer is a lot better in this generation because prize money isn't really that rewarding if you don't get top 2 or 3. To be truly pro, it's not worth it. Ho revealed that after getting 9th place at Capcom Cup, he received only $5,000, which might sound like a lot, but this was after he spent nearly 5 months straight practicing full-time for the tournament. Interestingly, Brian Foster, another top Street Fighter 6 player who currently boasts over 160,000 YouTube subscribers and has found a path as a content creator in the fighting game niche, commented on this video too. Essentially, he agreed with Kun Ho's take, and he explains that this is why he pivoted to also being a content creator, because in this current ecosystem, quote, "Many of the best players simply hang it up because they have no financial future in being a dedicated pro." I was watching highlights from EVO Japan 2024, which is fun for me because even though I could never competitively play against these level of players, the hundreds of hours I put into these fighting games means I can at least understand much of what I'm seeing, recognizing when someone wins a crucial 50-50 guess coming out of a plus frame advantage or loses a rock, paper, scissors guess when getting up from knockdown the corner. And there's something that's easy to forget when watching these winners finals matches. These players aren't just excellent at the situations you're seeing during this one match. They're excellent at the thousands of other situations you aren't seeing. And that's why they're on that top 8 stage, and the thousands of other entrants are not. For context, fighting games often have dozens of characters in each game. Each character has dozens, sometimes hundreds of moves, and each real-world player can use each character in endlessly varying ways. Sometimes an aggressive player can make a more defensive-oriented heavy character into a terrifying rushdown character, inversing their weaknesses and turning them into strengths. Sometimes players can do the opposite, turning fast-paced, explosive characters into an intimidating snake-like rock, barely moving until their opponent makes a mistake, at which they strike, winning the match with a flurry of lightning-fast punches and kicks. The people who make it to the grand finals and top 8 matches are people that have considered every option, that have seen every variation of fighting style, discovered every trick, then trained against it against world-class competitors. I grew up playing basketball, and somewhere in my mid-20s, I am embarrassed to admit I still held onto the childlike belief that if I just did nothing but train and practice basketball every single day, I might actually have a chance to be the last or the weakest player on a professional NBA roster. Give me 6 months at the court on the street and I bet I could reach that level, right? Of course, this wasn't true. It wasn't possible. It was never possible. That's because no matter how much I train, the professionals who are actually at that level are training the same way, well, much more actually, with better coaches against better competitors, using more talent and resources and advantages I simply don't have. In a way, a week of training in their life yields more benefits and experience to them than I could realistically achieve in 6 months of my own training regimen. It's just a different environment, a different universe. These professionals simply have more to work with than I ever could. The same is true for fighting games, and the same level of commitment is required. Just the other day, I was watching a stream of Maximilian Dude, one of the world's most foremost fighting game streamers and content creators. He was commenting on Evo Japan, one of the largest fighting game tournaments in the world. Someone in the chat asked him, how do these world-class competitors get so good? His response was a fascinating peek of what the lives of these competitors typically looks like in order to reach that level of skill. Maximilian Dude's tongue-in-cheek reveal was that the secret hidden technique of these players is that they know life these video games. Essentially, that these top competitors do virtually nothing else with their life other than eat, sleep, and practice this video game for months and years. I think that's what it takes. I think to be a pure competitor for fighting games, you need to know life it. This means that if you truly want to become the best, or even just a fighting game player who can survive on your earnings, however they come in, you have to absolutely and utterly dedicate your life to these games, because that's what your competitors are doing. And if you can't beat them, at least sometimes, you don't have a chance to make it. And man, just for me personally, that just does not sound appealing to me. Look, I have the utmost respect for these players who have chosen this path. I love watching streams of them compete. But think about this. Playing a competitive esports game like League of Legends or Fortnite pays hundreds, even thousands of times more in cash and prizes than the FGC does. Largely because there's just so many more people who are interested in those games. The FGC, while obviously recognizable in mainstream gaming culture, is still a bit of an outlier. According to eCharts.com, quote, EVO 2024 saw a record-breaking 10,240 individual players attend and compete across all events, with more than half of these competitors attending for the Street Fighter 6 event. This is a record number, about 6,000 people attending the largest Street Fighter event in the world. The total prize pool for that event was just over $70,000, with about $20,000 going to first place. For comparison, the 2024 Fortnite Championship Series, the FNCS, had a prize pool of over $7.5 million, with an estimated hundreds of millions of active global Fortnite players. It's not that hard to see why those numbers are so much bigger than anything the FGC could give. And also, I should note, Street Fighter creator Capcom does have their own Capcom Cup with a first place prize of $1 million, just won by Kakadu, which is the highest FGC prize pool ever. Still, we're talking pennies here, relatively speaking. If you want to make a living as a pure fighting game competitor, there's really only a few dozen spots available for the toppity top players in the entire world. After that, you either need to commit to being a streamer or content creator, which is another job entirely, and usually takes away from your practice time for real competitions. In any case, you need to completely devote your life to fighting games in one way or another. And with the prize pools that we're seeing in the FGC, it just doesn't seem like something I'd ever want to do. There's an old saying from 12-step addiction programs that goes like this: half measures availed us nothing. Basically, if you want to get sober, you have to do whatever it takes. And I can't help but think that in the same way, to make it as a professional competitor in the FGC, you can't half-ass anything. You need to fully commit. Knowing this and knowing how hard it all is, should you devote your adult life to fighting games? I just can't say you can't. Not unless you're ready to know life it. I've always liked the idea of both. In Arnold Schwarzenegger's autobiography, he reflected that one of the key moments of his youth was seeing a bodybuilder who wore glasses. Until then, Schwarzenegger thought you could either be strong or smart, not both. But here was a man who had muscles and glasses, who was strong and smart. At least the glasses made him look smart. It was then he realized you didn't have to choose just one identity. You could be both. Of course, he became a bodybuilder and an actor and many more things, a governor. He made it work. This idea of and, has always appealed to me. In high school, I was in the theater department, starring in musicals alongside my fellow drama nerds. while also on the basketball and volleyball teams, alongside my fellow sports jocks. I like all kinds of hobbies that seem to have no connection. Cooking, reading, video games, skateboarding, running a YouTube video essay channel, sports leagues. I'm a craft beer enthusiast. My friend calls this the Neapolitan life, where you don't have to choose only chocolate or only vanilla or only strawberry. You can have all the options at once. When it comes to video games in particular, I love so many different types of genres. Some of my favorites are fighting games, obviously, but turn-based RPGs are awesome, roguelike deck builders, tactics RPGs, pixel art platformers, narrative point-and-click adventures, retro-style horror games, and many, many more. The thought of giving up all these genres only to play a single genre or just a single game just seems so narrow to me, so limiting. But that's what you need to pretty much do in order to excel, to truly excel in fighting games, to be at the top level. As much as I love Smash Ultimate and was literally trying to become a professional in that game, I never for an instant chose to forego playing other games in the meantime, which may be a hint at why I was never going to truly make it as a professional. At the peak of my Smash Ultimate practice sessions before I had kids, I was also beating games like The Messenger, Breath of the Wild, God of War, The Last of Us, and many more completely different kinds of video games. Video games have always given me life, and I've never been willing to give them up in the pursuit of ambition or greatness. They're too much fun. And the older I get, the more important, and sadly, sometimes the more difficult it is to have true, genuine fun. If I have to answer the question, what do you devote your time to? Right now, I'd say God and family and friends, without hesitation. I've chosen to have a wife and kids, and as much as I love video games, and I do, believe me, and all my other hobbies, following Jesus as a Christian and being there for my wife and kids trumps all other activities. And committing to God and family and friends takes a lot of my time. But it's time well spent for me, and I don't regret a single moment of effort I put into these areas. There is a fascinating video by a former professional Mortal Kombat player named Maximilian titled Confessions of a Failed Pro Gamer. He shares his story in the most vulnerable, heartbreaking way about how he spent years utterly devoted to fighting games, ignoring friends and relationships in school, until he reached a point where he was really only able to connect with people about Mortal Kombat. His tireless devotion to his craft had left him empty, depressed, and unable to move forward with his life. While his story isn't how it always goes for professional fighting game players, it does seem like the more I look into people who are truly devoting their lives to fighting games, the harder it is for them to excel in other areas of life, let alone getting into the top of their game. It's hard out there, and it's pretty obvious you have to absolutely love the game, the grind, and the process of learning from failure in order to even have a chance at long-term success as a competitor. This isn't to say it's impossible, and there are plenty of iconic fighting game champions like Justin Wong, Daigo, Arslan Ash, MKLeo, Hungrybox, Leffen, and many more who have made it and who are successful and who look like they love their life. But there are also plenty of champions who competed and won, becoming the number one in their game, who eventually decided to quit because it just got to be too much for them as they fell out of love with their game. Mewtwo King and Armada come to mind from the Super Smash Bros. World. That's also important to consider. I think you have to ask yourself, what's the payoff here? Am I okay if I don't succeed? Will I be able to excel in other areas if I devote my life to fighting games? Will I still be able to love my life throughout the ups and downs of this process? It's hard to know whether you should devote your adult life to fighting games, especially if you want to have a career, a family, and the time and space for other hobbies. More and more, it seems like in order to be the top player in the world for a fighting game, that's pretty much the only thing you can do with your time. If that appeals to you, then honestly, great. But if you think there's just more potential out there, outside the game, outside the whole hobby itself, maybe it's best to choose a different path. Thanks for watching. And if you want to watch more videos like this, be sure to click that subscribe button.